3 a.m. is supposed to be an unholy hour for paranormal activity and even chaos. Take a look at these videos taken at 3 a.m. and tell me if you think they are just urban legends or truly paranormal. Number 9. A YouTuber named Joe's Paranormal TV decides to explore a haunted forest in Michigan in the early morning hours. The first thing they notice is how all of the trees look unnatural, like nothing they've ever seen before. In fact, the deeper into the forest they go, the stranger things seem to get.
What was that?
A metallic clang draws their attention, followed by faint cries in the distance.
You hear that? What the?
Joe thinks he sees moving shadows and tries to reassure himself that he and his friend are alone in the wilderness. Still, his camera's batteries are draining fast despite being brand new, and now he feels like he's being watched. Joe's equipment starts to malfunction for a moment. It clears up just in time to catch this noise.
It's creepy out here, man.
Not sure what direction it came from though.
It sounded like right up ahead of us here.
It's the unmistakable sound of a baby crying. I think that they probably really did hear this, but let me know if you think it's real or edited. Anyway, they eventually find a clearing of slashed trees that have been rearranged into strange symbols. Maybe someone in the comments section can tell me if these are pagan symbols or not, and if so, what they mean and what they would be doing here. Eventually, Joe's terror becomes unmanageable, and he flees after he thinks he hears something close by. Strange voices continue to follow Joe and his friend as they make their way out. Number 8. A YouTuber named Bad Choice Noah decides to live up to his name by feeding his huge collection of snakes alone in the dark at 3 a.m. He's hoping to catch something paranormal on video while he's at it, but something almost catches him instead.
You go, Ricky. Oh, God, I almost just got destroyed by him.
The large snake misses its target and nearly peels out of its container onto the floor. Noah's incredibly lucky to have pulled his hand away in time, or the snake would have had that to bite on instead. Number 7. A YouTuber named Sam Goldbach is making a video at the notoriously haunted Roosevelt Hotel in Las Vegas. He gets inside the elevator and takes a 3 a.m. challenge that's supposed to teleport you to a parallel world. In order for this to happen, he has to push the elevator buttons in a special order.
4th floor, then down to 2, then up to 6, then back down to 2, then you go to the 10th floor, and then when you go to the 5th floor, a girl, or a ghost of a girl, is supposed to enter an elevator with you. You're not supposed to...
After that, you go to the 10th floor with the girl and step into a parallel world. As he's trying to do this, the elevator music cuts off at random intervals, and the buttons sometimes don't work. It's hard to say if this happens because the hotel is so old, or if it's genuine paranormal interference. At any rate, Sam completes the sequence and reaches the 5th floor. When no ghost girl comes into the elevator to guide him, he decides to go back to the lobby, and that's when things go wrong. Instead of going to the lobby, the elevator goes the opposite direction and lets Sam off on the 10th floor. He isn't sure if the challenge worked or not, as he walks around the seemingly abandoned floor looking for paranormal apparitions. He's trying to determine if he's really in another dimension or not, when something makes him pause.
I just heard a door open, but I don't see a door open.
He quickly gets on the elevator and heads back to safety. To this day, he isn't sure if the challenge worked, or if it was just his nerves getting the best of him. Let me know if you think he successfully crossed over. and heard something paranormal. Number 6. A YouTuber named I'm Jay Station and his friends decide to take a 3 a.m. stroll down Clinton Road, a 10-mile stretch in New Jersey that's supposedly haunted by phantom trucks and other spirits. A thick fog soon surrounds their car just moments after turning on the road. They eventually come across a bridge that's rumored to be haunted by the spirit of a young boy. If you drop a coin down the bridge, the boy is supposed to return it to you. They decide to test out the theory by dropping a coin off the bridge, and then sure enough,
Nothing came back. Nothing came back, bro. Does it work?
the coin materializes about 10 feet away from them. It's obvious that they couldn't have dropped the coin themselves because it's nowhere near them, and it couldn't have rolled that far. I guess one of them could have thrown it. Otherwise, it appears that the legend is real. Number 5. A YouTuber named Aldo's World takes an Elmo doll into a haunted playground at 3 a.m. to see what happens. Apparently, Elmo is supposed to move by himself during this hour. Aldo's World and his friend put down the doll and start talking about how nothing is likely to happen. When they come back a minute later, they claim the doll has moved. They also say that his face looks a little bit different, though I can't say that I agree. Let me know if you see a change in his facial expression or not. A short while later, they look down again and see that Elmo has repositioned himself once more. Now he is face down. I don't know why they keep taking the camera off of Elmo, so I think it could be fake. But then again, when this happens, it makes me think it could be real.
Wasn't he on his stomach? What's going on? Yo, he was what's going on?
Let me know if you think this sound happened in real time or if it was edited in later. Overall, I feel like this video is real though. Number 4. In December of 2017, a YouTuber named Marlin decided to celebrate Christmas by sealing himself inside of an inflatable snow globe overnight. He thought he would be safe surrounded by presents and decorations, but at around 3 a.m., something weird starts to happen. First, his fog machine turns on by itself, blocking his vision with a ghostly mist. He's trying to remember if the fog machine was even plugged in to begin with, when an abrupt audio disturbance interrupts his already scattered thoughts.
And this thing? Whoa,
Do you hear that?
it's just creepy and this thing.
The sound is followed by random objects falling onto his inflated shelter, and finally, this drops down right in front of him.
Whoa! Yo!
Marlin decides not to wait for anything else to happen, and gets out of the ball in a hurry. Let me know if you think that this was just a prank on Christmas, or if he experienced something truly paranormal. Number 3. A YouTuber named Chester is trying to test a theory about the Talking Angela app on his phone. Some people say that using the app at 3 a.m. unlocks demonic properties and features, so he decides to give it a try. At first, the app is just repeating what he says, but after a while, it comes up with an answer seemingly of its own free will.
Do you know what time it is?
Do you know what time it is?
Angela, do you know what time it is?
You know what time it is?
What time is it, Angela?
3 a.m.
Oh!
Then Angela goes on to give some interesting details about her real identity.
Is Angela your real name?
I am not Angela.
What?
I am evil.
After a while, the app stops saying much else to Jester. Somehow, Angela's eyes go red as if she has been possessed. Let me know if any of these strange occurrences have ever happened to you while using the Talking Angela app and what you were saying to her when it happened. Number 2. Jake Duffner is a YouTuber who took a 3 a.m. challenge that left him with a bizarre and unsettling problem he's not sure how to solve. One morning, his girlfriend Ashley woke up covered in random scratches, so Jake set up a camera over their bed and records the following night. This is what comes to visit them early in the morning. An unidentified man stands over the two of them as they sleep, although the stranger doesn't seem to cause them any harm. Jake is sure that this is the person who scratched Ashley the night before. Obviously, this video could have been staged, and the person dressed in all black could just be a friend of Jake's. However, you can still see the shape of the person's nose through their mask. Some of Jake's fans say that this person's nose doesn't look like it could belong to any of the channel's regulars. If this is true, then maybe this stalker really was a stranger after all. I will say that this video looks like it was shot during the daytime, which is a strong indication that it could be fake, or at least probably not a true 3 a.m. challenge. Either way, stalkers are somewhat common, and Jake does happen to be a popular YouTuber, so it would make sense for him to have an unwanted admirer. Let me know if you think someone is living in Jake's home without his knowledge. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. I'm currently doing a super poll on my Instagram. If you believe ghosts are real, then go to my most recent photo and tap the like button. If you don't, DM me saying why. When you're done, come right back to this video to find out the number 1 entry. Also, follow me on Twitter at YTChills because that's where I post video updates. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way you'll be notified of the new videos I upload every Thursday and Sunday. Number 1. Mo Sargi is exploring an old train station that's supposed to be haunted. A few things happen during this expedition, 2 of which are so subtle that no one notices. The group keeps saying that they hear a little girl crying, but you can't hear it very well, so I won't bother including it here. Still, at around 6 minutes and 50 seconds into the video, they come across very tiny handprints smeared across the window of a train. None of them seem to notice, but if you look closely, you'll see them here. Maybe these prints belong to whoever or whatever was crying earlier. Later, Mo and his friends are joking about a ghost named Tom when suddenly a voice chimes in.
Is Tom a girl?
I think Tom is here.
Tom a girl?
Many people think that the voice is clearly saying hi. Let me know if you hear it and whether or not you agree. The 3 friends eventually trip an alarm and rush off the property, completely unaware of the numerous paranormal encounters they have recorded. Your neighbor could have a dungeon and you'd never know it. It sounds unlikely, but it happens more often than you would think. All of the people on this list were found with a dungeon in their home. Some of them had no idea it was even there, while others were well aware. Constant reminders of the afterlife lurking near. Watch these YouTubers try to brave a day with the unknown and see if you can determine whether it was the supernatural or simply their imaginations that led them to their breaking points. Number 10. Sam, Colby, and Nate are preparing to sneak into an abandoned jewelry factory and spend the night. They trek through miles of wilderness and eventually reach the old gray building just before the rain starts. The 3 of them get a weird feeling as soon as they set foot inside.
That was not a raindrop or a footstep, that was a voice.
Watch this part and tell me if you think they created the banging noise.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing much else happens for a long time, and it's starting to look like this 24-hour challenge could be nothing special after all. But then at around 5:30 in the morning, they come across some strange instructions written on the wall.
Turn back. Turn back.
Oh, there's another door over there.
Oh my god!
Dang it!
Go!
Something slams the door shut, and the 3 friends all scramble to the roof of the building. It's a half hour of waiting before they feel safe enough to climb down. Only Sam, Colby, and Nate will truly know if this video is paranormal or not, but I'd like to hear your best guess. Number 9. Chris Condon and his friends go to an old mental hospital to spend the night on a dare. This location is a little different than the others on this list because it's rather well known and has become somewhat of a party area for high schoolers to hang out in. With this in mind, it's no surprise when Chris's group comes across some other random people who want to join. By midnight, the group is pretty large and everyone seems to be getting along well. They set up a tent and prepare to spend the night making new friends. A few hours later, they wake up to a huge blaze instead.
Hey, the fire department's on its way.
No.
Be quiet, guys. You can hear them.
It's full, buddy. Full.
Police are outside arresting everyone who leaves the building. So Chris and his friends stay put for a while and then barely manage to sneak away. At times they are surrounded by pitch black and are too afraid to use their lights. They're almost caught multiple times and ultimately never return to the location again. My biggest question now is what actually caused the fire. Number 8. Vija Ma is taking the 24-hour challenge in a haunted house that burned down 10 years ago, claiming the lives of an entire family inside. All throughout the night they feel nervous and on edge, as if they're being watched by something that does not appreciate their presence at all.
No, I heard something in there.
Despite feeling persistently watched, the two friends manage to fall asleep for a while. Then this YouTuber is suddenly awakened by his friend, who claims to have heard something.
He was asleep, bro. I just heard a massive bang, so I'm gonna see what it is.
Vija Ma looks really tired and worn down during this scene, which makes me think it could be real. They're checking out the room where the noise was coming from, when suddenly they feel like they're being watched again.
That's probably the gas fan.
What the was that? Alex?
It could be the camera lighting, but I feel like I definitely see a shadowy figure retract into the doorway as soon as they turn around. Watch this part again in slow motion and tell me if you see any strange fluttering movements in the doorway. The cameraman bravely goes into the room where the shadow last retreated and finds a very tiny unnatural doorway leading to who knows where. At this point, they've seen enough and quickly exit without completing the challenge or finding out where the narrow entrance goes. Number 7. A YouTuber named Doritos Reaction is doing a 24-hour challenge in a relatively normal-looking hotel, except it's supposedly haunted by the spirits of numerous children. Now, while wandering around the hallways late at night, he wants to see if the rumors are true, and apparently he gets his wish.
Was that a kid? Was that a kid? Was that a kid?
Dorito manages to catch the dark silhouette of a boy running down the hallway at full speed. Notice how the boy's footsteps don't make a sound as he sprints away. Dorito rushes back to the elevator, only to find the doors opening and closing on their own, so he takes the stairs back to his room instead and doesn't leave for the rest of the night. I think this may have been one of his friends pretending to be a ghost, but then again, I'd like to get your thoughts. Number 6. Hey It's Liam is a British YouTuber doing a 24-hour challenge in a local abandoned sanatorium. He and his friends climb through an open window and waste no time exploring a series of long interconnected hallways for whatever they can find. The floor is covered with scattered papers. It's definitely creepy, but they decide to press on. They venture downstairs and find lots of graffiti on the wall, strange messages like "Don't listen to the voices" and "How long will they keep me down here?" It's unclear whether or not these words were written by patients before the facility closed down. Now midnight is fast approaching and Liam hears a noise nearby. They bravely go to investigate as a group, and this is what they find.
I don't know. Alright, too long. We have to get the out.
A door that was open moments ago slams in front of them. Then, as they are trying not to panic and decide what to do next, a scream interrupts their thoughts and sends them fleeing. Let me know if you think the scream was real or edited. Number 5. D-Master Flex is camping overnight in a haunted cemetery. They get bored and let their guard down long enough to play a game.
What the? What the?
Yo, hold on.
The tower of Jenga blocks collapses seemingly all by itself. The tower was clearly built on a level surface, and there appears to be no strong winds to blow it over. I guess it could have just been a string, but if not, then this incident is almost certainly paranormal. Number 4. Kevin LaShawn and his large group of friends feel fairly safe doing a 24-hour challenge in a mental asylum that's supposed to be haunted. They aren't expecting to find much, and for a while they don't. However, 2 experiments stand out in particular. First, they invite the ghosts to play a game of cards with them by setting up flashlights in a semicircle. The flashlights stay turned off during most of this experiment, but they do seem to repeatedly respond when one person in particular comes to the table. Perhaps this person has a natural tendency to attract spirits more than the others.
I guess they want you to play a game. Come over here and sit by me. They want you to play a game.
Whoa.
Come over.
These flashlights are turning on by themselves.
Later, Kevin is playing with an app on his phone that is supposed to communicate with ghosts when he gets some pretty interesting responses.
Is anybody in here? What's your name? My name's Kevin. What's your name?
Even if this app is programmed to say scripted phrases at random intervals, I do think it's odd that it says something similar to Kevin's name shortly after he introduces himself. Overall, Kevin is unable to verify that this location is haunted, though many of his viewers have decided it most likely is. Let me know what you think about this entry, and what other experiments Kevin and his friends could have done to summon any spirits. Number 3. The Bucket List Boys are an adventurous group of friends who are excited about taking the 24-hour challenge in an old haunted hospital. Most of the video is relatively normal until night falls and the atmosphere suddenly changes from playful to serious.
Justin, I know that was you. Dude, what are you talking about? Right here.
Wait,
Shut up.
that wasn't you?
No, that was you. Stop playing it.
They quickly grow more and more nervous from mysterious sounds until eventually they just want to leave. They're trying to figure out a way when something that's just way out of place pedals across their path.
Remember which way it is?
No.
Did you hear that?
What?
What the? No.
A small red tricycle rides by and sends the Bucket List Boys running in the opposite direction at full speed. They're in such a hurry to escape whatever's behind them that one of them almost falls down a dark hole with no visible bottom. They barely make it out in time and never look back. Hopefully this was just a prank and nothing really followed them outside. Number 2. Derek Desso Daly finds himself in a darkened cemetery on a 24-hour challenge with some friends. There's only some basic snacks and a small flashlight to split between the 3 of them, but they feel confident nothing serious will happen. Derek barely gets into the cemetery, and already he hears strange sounds that I don't think can easily be faked.
I know that I don't see anything past this road. Oh, what's that sound? Hey man, there's somebody walking right there, bro. Where?
Derek claims to see someone off in the distance, though I personally don't see anything. Still, he turns off his flashlight and quietly walks away to avoid detection. Other than that, nothing else happens until around 3 a.m., at which point the strange sounds return, even louder this time.
Yeah, we have a Ouija board and we have
They start playing with the homemade Ouija board and think they see something move in the trees. Then they think they hear footsteps. It's hard to say if they are just being paranoid or really experiencing something paranormal, since nothing special is caught on camera. Later though, When they begin chanting a spell to speak with any nearby spirits, I can definitely hear what they are talking about. Eventually, one of them gets separated from the group and is covered in red when he returns. He claims to have fallen, but something about his story sounds off.
Yo, what happened? Something fell.
Something falling on its own seems quite unlikely, making the claim of paranormal activity even more plausible. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. I'm currently doing a super poll on my Instagram. If you believe ghosts are real, then go to my most recent photo and tap the like button. If you don't, DM me saying why. When you're done, come right back to this video to find out the number 1 entry. Also, follow me on Twitter at YT_chills because that's where I post video updates. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new video I upload every Thursday. Number 1. Back in 2017, YouTube channel TFIL and his friends are exploring the same Japanese forest that Logan Paul visited for his controversial video not too long ago. In case you didn't know, this forest is an infamous place where people in Japan go to end their lives. They wander around for a while and come across a path that's been blocked off by the biggest spider web any of them has ever seen. They quickly conclude that the path probably has been abandoned for some time and decide to explore it. As they go deeper down the path, all of their equipment starts to malfunction at the same time for no apparent reason.
Look at mine. You can't even see.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection. Please try again in a moment.
I did not even, it was in my pocket.
Yeah, I know that freaked me out.
That was scary.
Yo.
Mine just went out too.
Some of their flashlights are suddenly broken, and the ones that are still working don't shine as brightly as before. Eventually, their equipment starts working well enough for them to move again, and that's when they make a harrowing find.
Right there, right there, right there, right there. Sitting right there with his head just like leaned over.
It's 4 in the morning when they see what could be someone in the distance. Apparently, they can see it much better in person than on camera. Their flashlights are too weak to properly light up the distance, and they are too afraid to move any closer. I'm not sure if this really was someone or just their own paranoia, but I did notice how the farther they move away from the scene, the stronger their flashlights become. Their reactions did seem very genuine in regards to the situation, and they made the proper decision of figuring out the proper authorities to call. The National Ocean Service estimates that we have only managed to explore 5% of the ocean. With this statistic in mind, it isn't hard to believe some of the creatures on this list really could exist. After all, who knows what is lurking amongst the undiscovered 95%? Many personal reports of paranormal encounters start off as relatively mild at first, gradually becoming more intense until reaching the point of actual danger. In other words, flickering lights, running faucets, and missing items were often precursors to hauntings that, in these cases, became far more sinister. Number 15. The Night Stalker. This woman claims that she would go to bed at night only to be woken up by strange noises and left with the unshakable feeling that she was not alone. When she sets up a camera to record some evidence, she finds this bizarre footage the next day. Imagine watching yourself trying to sleep while this figure haunts your dreams. At one point, the supposed phantom appears to be lunging at her. She says that she believes she was still awake during this point and remembers seeing nothing. Only when the contrast on the video was enhanced did anything become visible. Number 14. The Ghost Pusher. This footage comes from India, where a woman is seen cleaning up at a sink. Suddenly, a dark figure appears behind her and gives her a hard shove from behind. She turns around only to find the room empty and hurries away. Number 13. The Mirror. A security camera records a woman as she sits in a dance studio with her back to the mirror. Suddenly, her reflection turns around and stands at her menacingly. The woman continues on her daily routine and simply walks away, completely unaware of the danger behind her. If this video is real, then I can only imagine what would have happened if she had walked towards it instead. Number 12. The Light-Sensitive Ghost. This video comes from another country, but you don't have to know the language to understand what's going on. A group of kids appear to have broken into some type of amusement park late at night, and they are now exploring the area. They are commenting on the various pieces of equipment when they come across a large replica of a woman that makes them fall silent. She is very pale with an expression of surprise and displeasure, almost as if she can see them and knows what they are up to. They move their flashlight over its eyes, and the tall figure blinks once at them. The scared group goes off running, and later submits their amateur footage to the local news. It's then loaded onto YouTube soon after. Number 11. Ghost Grabbed. A man is walking down a hallway with both hands in his pockets when something suddenly materializes in front of him. The shadowy mass shoves him to the ground and drags him across the floor by his ankles with all of its strength. It suddenly disappears as he scrambles to his feet and runs away at full speed. The YouTube community seems split as to whether or not the surveillance video left behind is fake or real. Number 10. Barry Can't Breathe. According to a team of ghost hunters, this house in San Pedro, California has long been haunted by poltergeists who like to open cupboards, throw plates, change television channels, and linger in certain rooms until a mother and her 2 children felt uncomfortable enough to leave. A lot of events happened before the ghost hunters became involved and therefore were never recorded, but it wasn't uncommon for red liquid to drip from the walls of this haunted home for no explainable reason. Here is a quick clip of this happening in real time before the team's very eyes.
Everyone just left except us. Things are starting to drip out of the cabinets. Nobody believes us, but it's happening. There it is. There it is, right there. It's dripping.
Eventually, the ghosts drive the mother and her children out of the home, and the ghost hunters volunteer to stay there and investigate for several months. One day, they hear 3 loud snapping noises coming from the attic and send a man named Barry to investigate. As he later recalls, something was up there waiting for them.
Are you okay, buddy? God, look at his neck. Chef, what's behind your neck? I don't know. What's on my neck? Piece of rope. Barry, get down.
Barry comes back down distraught and confused, now missing his glasses. Some kind of cord is wrapped around his neck, and he insists that something had tried to choke him upstairs in the attic. The investigation was called off not long after, out of a concern for the team's personal safety. Number 9. The Dining Room. A man claims that he keeps experiencing paranormal activity in his dining room and nowhere else. He feels unsafe and decides to leave a camera running in the dining room to see what goes on when he's not around. Nothing happens for a while, but then something comes along in the window that looks questionable. This is the zoomed in version. A tiny face appears to peek out at them from the glass panel on the bottom right before darting out of sight. You can't really make out any of its features, but notice how some orbs float by shortly before this happens. It's hard to tell if it's a paranormal creature or just a small animal, but I wouldn't want to be left alone in the house to find out. Number 8. The Apartment Haunting. A YouTuber named Joseph Chansuom is absolutely positive that a ghost has been playing tricks on him, so he sets up a camera to record his apartment at night, since that's when the majority of his otherworldly interactions have occurred. It's past 1 in the morning when orbs begin to dash wildly overhead like fireflies. Then something turns on the bathroom lights and puts the faucet on full blast. Soon the door shuts by itself, and maybe it's just me, but I think I hear a really weird noise after it closes, kind of like a sigh. Listen to this and let me know if you hear it too. So anyway, Joseph wakes up after a while, and he hears the sink running. He immediately checks all around his bathroom, only to find it's completely empty. It's important to note that I didn't see any editing cuts between when the sink turned on and when he checked the room. If this is fake, it's very convincing. Here's another video of the sink on a different night, this time taken in front of a mirror to show that no one was around. Joseph eventually moved away before the paranormal tampering could escalate into something more dangerous. Number 7. Alcatraz. A man is walking around the infamous Alcatraz when he picks up 2 possible paranormal encounters. I'll start with the weirdest one first. He is inspecting a roll of holding cells when a loud voice seems to call out to him with a single question. It sounds to me as if the deep voice is asking one simple word: why? The second possible encounter occurs as he is entering another part of the prison. Listen to this strange and haunting laugh. This one has a fairly reasonable explanation. Alcatraz is on an island, so maybe this was a bird call echoing off the prison's walls. I can't tell for sure, so let me know what you think about these 2 events. Number 6. The Sleepwatcher. After multiple nights of getting no sleep and experiencing a deep sense of dread, this person sets up multiple cameras to record exactly what happens to them at night. When they check out the cameras the next day, they find this strange encounter. A faint shadow appears to linger above them for a moment before fading away. It has an unnatural shape and almost seems to reach out at them. This video could be fake because this person was sleeping with their lights on, which is strange. But then again, maybe they were just trying to make sure there was plenty of light to catch the ghost on video. Some people have even suggested that this person was having an out-of-body experience during REM sleep. Number 5. The Museum Curse. Museum maintenance workers in Manchester, England, were very surprised when this ancient Egyptian statue began moving by itself. It would always shift in its display case when they aren't looking, and when they put it back in its spot, it would just move again on its own later. After determining that this was not some kind of prank, the museum workers became extremely curious and set up a camera. They were stunned to find the 4,000-year-old statue gradually moving in a perfect circle completely by itself on camera. Scientists studied this video extensively and eventually concluded that vibrations from foot traffic in nearby buses were causing the small figurine to shift in place. However, museum workers note that this figure has been part of their collection for 80 years and it has never moved before, so this reason is not exactly foolproof. Also, none of the other museum artifacts have ever displayed this kind of behavior, which has led many YouTubers to believe that this explanation is merely a cover-up for the paranormal truth and possibly a dangerous curse. Number 4. Billy's Dinner. A child is left alone for just a moment, but still long enough for her to have a possible conversation with a ghost. Look across from her at the wrapped silverware in front of the glass and watch what it does as she speaks.
Here's Billy's dinner.
The silverware moves all by itself shortly after she reminds an invisible person that this is not their dinner. She could be talking to an imaginary friend, but that doesn't explain how the object moved without being touched. The ghost appears to leave her alone after this brief interaction, and she happily resumes eating as if nothing happened. Exactly what it was planning to do to their food could be anyone's guess. Number 3. The Red Possession. A woman appears to be obviously distressed and possibly possessed as she coughs up red liquid during a ritual exorcism. She coughs and gags until the front of her shirt is covered in a crimson liquid bubbling forth from her mouth. She spits out the red liquid again and again. The man chants over her and jumps up and down with her until she stops speaking in tongues and appears to calm down. The audience claps and the video ends. Number 2. The Stairway. This CCTV footage shows a young woman hurrying down a flight of steps, only to find something waiting for her at the bottom of the stairwell. The shadowy figure turns towards her, and if you look closely, you can almost make out the circular white outline of a face. She bolts away and the apparition quickly pursues. If this video is real, then nobody knows what happened next, or if she even survived. Before we get to number 1, if you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because I upload a new video every Thursday. Number 1. The Haunting of Paige. This video was supposedly recorded by an unlucky couple who have been experiencing a rash of dangerous paranormal encounters. The paranormal specialist they were seeing suggested that they record every moment inside of the house for evidence. The couple is arguing about how inconvenient this is when suddenly something bad happens to Paige.
I'm so over this house and I'm over the filming and everything.
Paige! The door slams shut, and when the boyfriend rips the door open, this is what he sees the poltergeist doing to her. The cameraman is slammed to the ground by an invisible force as Paige rides up the wall. She hangs suspended on the ceiling and then falls into the bathtub. She stares vacantly ahead with no emotion in her eyes as her boyfriend tries to comfort her. It is unclear if she ever recovered or what her mental state is like now. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because I upload a new video every Thursday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of my other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy! Ouija boards supposedly turn to the afterlife for answers, though as these YouTubers have found, you may not always like what's waiting to be found on the other side. Number 12. A YouTuber named Stromedy and his friend journey into a maze of tunnels deep underground to conjure the spirit of a girl who supposedly had her life forcibly taken down there long ago. They don't appear to be very serious in the beginning, but their attitude soon changes when they think they've summoned a relatively friendly spirit named Abby. Then roughly 9 minutes into the video, they feel another presence enter and this happens.
Oh dude, it's doing figure eights again.
What?
Can you stop? Can you please?
Holy.
That's freaking creepy. I'm gonna ask you. Whoa!
They briefly consider leaving, but then Kyle volunteers to look through the middle of the pointer instead. Earlier, Abby said whoever does this will be able to see her true form. Kyle bravely puts the pointer to his eye and peers into the unknown.
Kyle, you there, bro? Kyle. Dude, seriously. Dude.
Let's just go. Let's go back. I know what you mean now. Let's go back.
Did you see her? What'd you see?
Let's go grab the board and let's go.
I think his reaction seems fairly genuine, but let me know if you agree or not. Number 11. Beyond this fence lays an abandoned asylum that a YouTuber named TGF Bro and his friends badly want to explore. The inside looks like a tattered mansion on the verge of collapse. Strange noises follow them as they progress deeper into the interior of the asylum.
This is dark. Did you get that on camera?
When they get deep enough, TGF Bro pulls out a Ouija board and begins directing questions to whoever or whatever is near.
If there's anybody there, please move the triangle to yes.
The group hears a loud bang directly behind them, and they all take off. I noticed that the third person was off camera though, so maybe that person made the commotion and then acted scared. Then again, old asylums are supposed to be notoriously haunted, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Ouija board really did bring spirits near. Number 10. A YouTuber named Danny Will9 records some very strange happenings during a candlelit Ouija session. About 6 minutes into the video, the pointer begins going wild, seemingly on its own.
Alphabet, and then it goes through the thing backwards. Is running.
Bro, it's making a figure 8, bro.
They try to end the session multiple times, but apparently each time the spirit refuses to let them. The spirit eventually reveals itself to be named Abigail. They ask it to physically reveal itself a few times, but nothing happens. So they decide to try and end the session. Abigail, however, seems to have other plans for them.
It's not letting me push down, bro. Bro, it's not letting me push down.
What do you mean?
It's not letting me push down to goodbye.
Finally, the force holding back the pointer is released, and they're able to move it over goodbye. I honestly can't tell if Danny was doing this himself or if his spirit was doing this instead, so I'm interested in hearing your thoughts as to the authenticity of this video. Number 9. Robin Adri is the name of a YouTube channel with an interesting Ouija board experiment at 3 a.m.
Is there any spirits out here that would like to contact us?
They try to get the ghost to spell its name, but the session gets off to a bad start after they complain about how slow the ghost is at spelling. This seems to aggravate the spirit, and it asks to speak with Rob's twin brother Steven by spelling its name over and over again. The spirit goes on to profess that it does not have good intentions for his brother Steve.
Do you want to hurt Steven?
After a while, the Ouija board stops spelling Steven long enough to spell out Zozo instead. They eventually end the session properly, and even get assured that they will be left alone in the future.
You said that you will not haunt us, right? Thank you so much, we really appreciate it.
But it seems as though Zozo may have been luring them into a false sense of security. As they are leaving, they see a rattlesnake nearby, and it seems to be paying special attention to Steven. Rob and Adri are convinced that Zozo was sending them a warning sign in the form of a serpent, but I think this could also just be a coincidence. Let me know what you think. Number 8. A YouTuber named Chaos Prodigy and his friends gather around a Ouija board deep in the woods late at night. They are completely alone and surrounded by nothing but wilderness as they place their fingers on the pointer and invite any nearby spirits to guide them. Not much happens for a while until they ask if a spirit is around and get a sarcastic no in response. The spirit is in the middle of spelling its name when all of a sudden they are interrupted by something off camera.
What is that? Navi? No, V. It's a V.
What the Say goodbye.
Goodbye. There's some sort of banging noise in the distance, and that's enough of a reason for them to end the session early. This video is uncomfortably way too short to tell if they were hearing something paranormal or just some local wildlife. Maybe if they had stuck around for longer, they could have had more questions answered, but at the same time, I can't exactly blame them for leaving as fast as possible. Number 7. Jessie Sims and her friend use a Ouija board only to discover they are surrounded by 3 spirits. She claims to get dizzy and asks if it's a good spirit she's talking to. The spirit gives them a negative response, so Jessie fights her panic and asks,
"Is this Zozo?"
The pointer stays over no. It's not Zozo after all. Still, they both have a bad feeling, so they decide to ask,
"What do you want from us?" Shut up.
Everyone has their own style of camping. Most people have an enjoyable time that they will cherish for years, but for a small percentage of campers, absolute horror is what they find. Here are just some of their documented experiences. Number 14. Athlete Chad is finishing up a camping trip with his family in Rexburg, Idaho, when he notices a large bear approaching his motorhome without fear. Soon it rears up on its hind legs to get a better look at what's inside the camper.
Oh yeah.
Whoa!
Hey.
No, he's riding the thing down!
Hey, no.
He's taking
She's
No, he'll rip it off!
Take it out.
The YouTuber and his family managed to get away unharmed, but the teeth marks on their side view mirror will always remind them they came face to face with a wild animal in the woods. Number 13. This video is from a camping trip that Emery Buckner and his friends took back in 2010. After introducing each of his friends by name, something catches Emery's eye. He zooms in on a small clearing in the woods that's just up ahead, and that's when he sees it for the first time.
Guys, what is that?
I think it's... What's what, brother?
Seriously, guys, there's something I seriously saw something over there. Tom?
None of his friends managed to see it, but Emery encourages them to stay still and keep looking. Then, sure enough, the red glowing eyes return.
Guys?
What? Oh my God.
What is that? That's it. That's it. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
They waste little time retreating to their boat and speed away to safety. But just before they take off, Emery catches the creature a final time. It's now casually observing the group while perched in a tree, its head cocked to the side, its faint outline barely visible behind a pair of glowing red eyes. Number 12. Hina Tahir and her sister are camping in New Jersey's Double Trouble State Park when they notice a strange woman who is half submerged in a local lake. Her clothes are all white, and she has a serious expression on her face as she sways in place. To this very day, the two girls aren't sure if what they recorded was a live person or a ghost. If it was a person, then I have absolutely no idea why they would be in the water, while fully clothed. And if it was a ghost, then maybe her body is lurking in the shadow waters below. Whatever the case may be, Hina and her sister decide to leave the woman in peace and dare not go any closer. Number 11. A soft rain falls in the desert and sends all sorts of creatures scurrying for cover, including this unwanted guest. Watch this part and be sure to translate what they are saying here if you can understand.
شلون مت الله يرحمنا وياك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله الله يكفينا شره.
A giant upside-down scorpion makes its way across the top of his tent towards the camera with its arms open and pincers extended. It looks highly aggressive and possibly poisonous, but any help identifying its exact classification and behavioral traits would be appreciated. Number 10. These friends are too busy gathering around a campfire to notice something is scampering behind them.
Well, you've been sharpening it for like 2 hours.
Just out of reach. Watch it again.
Well, you've been sharpening it for like 2 hours.
The furless creature moves on all fours in an unnatural way that resembles no forest animal I've ever seen before. If it's not computer-generated imagery, then perhaps this is footage of the rake or some other forest beast. Number 9. Jeff Kessler is camping in the middle of nowhere, all by himself when a low rumbling noise jolts him awake. It's coming from just outside his tent. He bravely investigates the perimeter of his campsite, armed with only a flashlight. After some searching, he finally comes across the creature that woke him up a few minutes earlier. It appears to be an oddly shaped humanoid creature with broad hips and shoulders, but skinny limbs and a narrow head. Jeff only briefly catches it on camera before turning to run. Apparently, park rangers found his camera under this heavy and mysterious structure of bundled trees, but no signs of Jeff himself. I could find no news articles to verify this story as real, so it could just be an art project. Then again, or maybe it was even a cover-up. Let me know what you think. Number 8. A YouTuber named 11 Makeda and their friends are camping in the backyard when they completely lose control of their bonfire. First, they try to put out the blaze with a simple garden hose. When that doesn't work, they try to smother the fire with dirt using shovels. Meanwhile, the flames grow taller and hotter as the fire spreads outwards, threatening to reach a house that's only a short distance away. Also, if it reaches the cornfield behind them, then the fire could quickly cover acres of land. The short 5-minute video ends before we get a chance to see what happens next. Hopefully they did the right thing and called for firefighters to put an end to the backyard inferno. Otherwise, if they were too afraid of getting in trouble and continued to try and contain it themselves, then it might very have cost somebody their home. Number 7. This video was supposedly taken somewhere in Arizona in 1997. It was later found in an abandoned police station according to the description. The large group is walking towards a bright light in the horizon, and it almost looks as if there has recently been a large crash. As they get closer, this alien-looking creature emerges and takes a few steps before noticing their presence. A giant beam of light bursts from its chest, and the group runs off before we can see what happens next. I'm not sure if this was a costume or not. I wish we got a closer look at the alien, but from this distance, I'd say there is a possibility that this video could be real. Number 6.
Creeping me out. I lived here for going on 7 years and walked 100 miles through these woods. Never seen that shape before right there.
That's the reaction of James Jones after finding a strange human silhouette standing motionless in the Tennessee forest. What's especially perplexing is how James should be close enough to see the person's facial features, yet their entire visage is shrouded in darkness.
It's not a broken tree or whatever. I don't know. It looks like it's connected right there, but it's not. I've been over there 1,000 times.
Even if this was a tree, there's not much of a reason for it to be completely dark instead of the same color as every other tree around. It almost looks like the figure is wearing a colonial-style hat. Maybe it's the spirit of a soldier from the Revolutionary War, or maybe they were a soldier in the Civil War. Let me know what you think it was, and if you think James was in any trouble on that day. Number 5. This is one of the more popular videos that many people feel is clear evidence of Bigfoot. The video looks a little too blurry for me to be sure, but I don't recognize this scene from any movie or television series, so it could very well be real. If it is real, however, my only question is why this 5-second clip is so short. Maybe this person became afraid for their life when spotted and abruptly ran for cover. Number 4. Something has been lurking outside of this YouTuber's tent since 2 in the morning. Now it's 6:15 a.m. and the creature is more interested in getting inside more than ever. The cameraman timidly peeks out from his tent and spots a tall, muscular lion pacing back and forth. It seems particularly interested in the tent across from them, which fortunately is uninhabited. Eventually, the lion gains access to the adjacent tent and raids it for supplies. I'm not sure if he found anything or not, but eventually the lion walks off a short while later. I have little doubt that he could smell these humans and knew he was on the other side the entire time, but I guess the lion wasn't sure if he was a formidable opponent or not, and ultimately decided to leave him alone. The man breathes a sigh of relief and quickly packs up. Number 3. A YouTuber named Chevalier Epstein has heard rumors of an old haunted campground that he wanted to explore at the end of a dusty, forgotten path. He finds some small buildings that are in relatively good shape for being abandoned. Still, the whole situation looks creepy even from the outside. On a bright and sunny day, when they go inside, they find it's been covered in graffiti and feel strangely unwelcoming, so they don't stay for long. Chevalier decides to turn around and take one last look at the campsite before leaving. Apparently, something was taking one last look at him as well.
What? That door just creaked open. Oh!
Their attention is still fixated on the open door when something much closer makes a noise nearby. I guess it could have been a mouse knocking something over or something like that, but the timing was a little too much of a coincidence for me not to include it on this list. Let me know if you think they really saw the door open by itself or if this was all set up. Number 2. A group of Bigfoot hunters are searching for clues deep in the woods when they come across something ominous glowing in the clear night sky.
Oh my goodness. See? 3. And in a different position.
3 orbs appear to form a mysterious triangular pattern off in the distance. Every once in a while, the light on top gets extremely bright and then fades away. They can't figure out what these lights are, and I'm not quite sure either. Tell me if you think this was an alien sighting, or maybe even some sort of experimental aircraft. All I know is that if these bizarre lights really are a regular occurrence around these woods, then maybe the idea of Bigfoot isn't so far-fetched after all. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. I'm currently doing a super poll on my Instagram. If you believe ghosts are real, then go to my most recent photo and tap the like button. If you don't, DM me saying why. When you're done, come right back to this video to find out the number 1 entry. Also, follow me on Twitter at YT_chills because that's where I post video updates. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new video I upload every Thursday. Number 1. While walking in the forest, a man came across a patch of land that literally moved on its own. All he could do was catch the scene on video in stunned amazement. even live streamed the event from Facebook to prove that this was happening in real time without any special effects. It only seemed to be happening in one spot the entire time, centered around one tree in particular. I know that technically this shouldn't be possible, but it really does look like the forest is alive and breathing on its own. If you have any scientific explanation as to how this occurs, please let me know. Otherwise, this video opens all sorts of questions as to what happens in the deepest corners of the wilderness when no one is around.